Here's the story. I'm quite the injury-prone man. I was a very serious pitcher growing up and always had the hopes of playing baseball in college. Perhaps I was overly ambitious at some point because a lot of pitching and overthrowing led to my ulnar nerve decompression and retransposition surgery in October 2018, soon after I turned 16 years old. Here's a little proof of that. Only 10 months later, in August 2019, I had torn labor and repair surgery on my shoulder, and essentially my baseball days were over. While my dreams may have been crushed, all that sitting around recovering made me realize how much of an athlete I truly am at heart, and how much I needed to move my body to keep myself sane. As such, I started playing a hell of a lot of basketball during my freshman year, which was the COVID year here at U of R. Naturally, as such, it was just me playing by myself, practicing my dribble moves and my three-point shot primarily. Clearly, there's a mix of ambition and genetics that gets the best of me. After my freshman year in June of 2021, I was back home in New York City playing basketball with some friends, and I tore my ACL and meniscus going up for a layup. I didn't even get off the ground, as a matter of fact. I just planted my right foot and then went down screaming. My boys even had to carry me out of the park. Fast forward to May 2022, my physical therapist gave me his blessing to start playing basketball again. Then nothing really dramatic happened this time, but I was driving to the basket, I was pushing up on my defender, and I hit the ground again. This time I was able to walk home at least, but I tore my ACL and meniscus yet again. I wanted to at least have that summer not recovering, so I held off the surgery until November of 2022. A year and some change later, after my fourth total surgery now, and after lots of PT and recovery, just going through the motions as I'm well used to at this point, of course including the emotional roller coaster as I was going insane. As mentioned, I wasn't able to move my body. And now we're here. And for my individual project for ECON of Sports, I made it my goal to touch a 10-foot basketball rim. I am no giant. I am 5'10", so this was going to be a pretty big challenge for me, especially after 2 knee surgeries. So this is the one physical goal of mine intended for this assignment. This is what I have been training for all semester, but I have deeper goals beyond that, which this assignment has helped me move towards as well. As I train to touch rim, really what I'm also doing is fighting off the monster that is me being an injury-prone person that's been chasing me for over half a decade. So it's the beginning of the semester, around late January, early February. I have been lifting 5 to 6 days per week and figured I needed to incorporate some jumping into my routine. Up until then, I've been doing some jumping stuff at physical therapy, but have been afraid to ramp it up, and now it was time. On my leg days in the weight room, I would throw in varieties of box jump training as well. Starting off with death drops, this trained my knee to absorb the impact when landing. I would start off landing on 2 feet, then work my way to 1. I also started at 12 inches and then worked my way up to 18. Then after a couple weeks, I began adding the jumping aspect, worked my way up to single leg and height. My knee felt good, weird, but not painful. I was still more or less getting back into things even after over a year post-operation. Finally, we reached the end of February and I gained enough confidence to start taking this to the basketball court and try to touch rim. I figured I was there for a completely dry run. No research and technique or anything. Just head to the courts and see what I could do. This was February 23rd. I started off with a crap ton of warm-ups, just getting loose, whatever I had to do. Then I began to attempt, really just messing around. Starting off with some straight vertical jumps, then moving on to some running attempts, jumping off 1 foot, 2 feet, not really getting anywhere close. After that, I did some research on technique and form. I mainly found just videos of people who are incredibly athletic, who are dunking and whatever. But the main thing I learned about is this thing called the penultimate step, which is essentially the one big step you take before jumping off of 2 feet. Perhaps I should give a little bit more background here. As I mentioned earlier, back my freshman year when I was playing a lot of basketball, I, matter of fact, did touch rim. I was able to do it a couple times. Since I was playing pretty much every day, I would just go, just mess around and try to touch it, and eventually I did. So when I touched rim back in freshman year, it was off of a 1-footed jump. This to me just felt a lot more natural. However, through all my research, it seemed that jumping off 2 feet was the way to go. Here we are again back in March 1st, ready to take some research attempts at the rim. Since jumping off 2 feet felt super awkward, and this is just how physical training should be usually, I took this penultimate step by step. Here I am going through the motions slowly a few times before actually trying. You could see me here really trying to map out this penultimate step. I'm really just kind of going through the motions, not really jumping. Then I go for it. I feel like I actually got a lot of air when I wasn't expecting it. After all, I didn't run up to it or anything. I just took one penultimate step and went for it. I took some more cracks at it, but felt like I didn't get close to my first attempt. Perhaps I was in my head too much, as you'll see that that's kind of a common theme here. Here I go again, slowly trying to get the technique down. I feel like my problem was that I was running too fast, which led to more of a horizontal jump than vertical. And on top of that, the entire time I'm overly conscious about my knee, as you can see by the way I land sometimes. Then the court started filling up, so I had to make a few more whack attempts and be done for the day. So this whole entire time, at least for the entire semester, I have been going to the gym and weightlifting for bulking purposes. Really, I just wanted to see how big I could get. Okay, really, I just wanted to eat whatever the hell I wanted. Nonetheless, I reached my goal of getting up to 190 pounds. But then I realized touching rim would probably be a hell of a lot easier if I had less weight to get off the ground. So I decided to start cutting and not eat a shit ton of snacks at night. This was not easy, as I was even unsuccessful some nights. Nevertheless, I tried. Some days pass, and now it's March 6th. I've maybe dropped a pound or two. I've been stepping on the scale, and I was about 188. I guess I was fluctuating between 188 and 193 throughout the day during my bulking process. But in any case, with more research, I found that perhaps I should be warming up differently. I started off with some wall sits and sprints, which benefits overall explosiveness. Perhaps I warmed up too much, as I felt this was my worst day jumping yet. And my knee felt like shit. I took off very awkwardly here, and my knee started barking. Dreadful flashbacks of surgery would try to creep into my mind, but I wouldn't let it. After a few more attempts, I realized, well, I might not be able to touch rim at all. I might completely fail this assignment and my goal entirely. So I realized if I'm not going to be able to touch rim, I might as well push myself to become a better basketball player so at least I get something out of this. So I began to train my handles a little more. Trust me, all I wanted to do was shoot around, but I made myself dribble. Now it's spring break, baby. My friend and I from back home went to Costa Rica, where I thought, well, food costs money, not on mommy's school grocery budget. So perhaps I will successfully lose some weight, as I will have double the incentive to not eat as much food. Well, let's just say that didn't necessarily happen, but we were indeed quite active. Also, while we were in Tamarindo, we found this basketball court some locals were playing on. We left our phones at the hostel, locked them up, so we didn't want to risk taking them, so I don't have any footage. But when we got there, I started messing around a little bit in terms of jumping and trying to touch rim. I went up for an attempt, and I did it. Mission accomplished. Yay, yes. Yeah, too bad the rim was definitely not 10 feet. It was probably more like 9, and I was easily able to not only touch rim, but grab it. The important takeaway here is that my first couple attempts, I saw that the rim was definitely a little shorter than 10 feet, and I was like, oh, I could totally get this. And I tried really hard to get it, but missed. Then as we were kind of playing and messing around, I completely stopped trying and I was able to get it easily. I think when I was really trying, I was overly focused on technique and all the research I've been doing and all that. I stopped trying to get off the ground optimally and just touch the rim. Forgetting about everything else, I just tried to touch the rim and I did it easily. So after, again, not only touching but grabbing rim several times throughout the night, this was very interesting for me as I always thought more effort turned into more output. Clearly, all the activities compensated for the eating as I got back to rock and...
Well, all right then.
I lost about 5 pounds, somehow. And now we're back in the gym. It's Monday, March 18th. I've made the decision to almost abandon weightlifting completely and go to the gym every day to try to touch rim and play basketball. I haven't lifted in a while, which was certainly great for my muscle recovery, but perhaps did enough walking and movement to keep my body active and strong. I began to mix in some soft shooting around when I got tired in between my warm-ups and my jumping attempts. Still, I started off with the usual verticals, then worked my way up. This time around, as I'm going, I'm trying to not try, which didn't have as good a result as I expected. But then I realized, well, I did touch rim when I was a freshman off of one-footed attempt. So fuck the research. Let me mess around with some one-footers. I do it once and I was like, let me try again. Then look at my reaction after this attempt. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. I'm not sure whether I actually got up higher, but it definitely felt much better. My third attempt was pretty shit and I went back to 2 feet and then I did my intense dribble warm-up and then began shooting around. So that day I gained a lot of confidence, primarily thanks to all the one-footed attempts. So that night I realized, not only did I touch rim as a freshman off of a one-footed attempt, I also realized over my career as a lifelong baseball player, I have over a decade of developed rotational strength, right? From pitching and from even hitting, right? I have all of that rotational strength, especially going from, right to left as I jump, right? Going from whoosh, right? So my body is further advanced in generating power through rotational movement, so I concluded that going back to one-leg attempts, 100% the way to go. It's Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. My head was high. I had confidence, and something was in the air that day. I focused my warm-up more on getting loose with dynamic stretching, opposed to getting warm with more running and jumping stuff. I'm going slowly as I start off my attempts as I do. Then here we go. I began trying to jump off one leg. The whole time I'm thinking, today is the day. I'm gonna do it. Oh, come on. You can see after a couple attempts, I was really getting close. Then I had that Costa Rica flashback and thought, just touch the rim. Don't try to get off the ground optimally. Just touch the rim. Every other attempt before this, I was looking at the ground at some point before I took off. But now, look at me stare at the rim before I go. I didn't take my eyes off it for a second. I wanted it. And then...
Let's go!
Bam. Mission complete. I promise, I touched it. I checked the footage right after and I realized, damn, it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, if you look closely at my fingers, you can see. I figured I could try to catch a better angle. So I did, and then I went for it again.
It's light now.
And then I got it again. I was flowing with confidence. I figured my shirt was getting in the way, and I went for it several more times, and I got it a few more times. And now that I got it, I was more into it than ever. I took some more cracks at it and knew what I was doing wrong with each attempt if I didn't get it. And I made the adjustment. I was feeling myself. And in case the camera angle didn't really catch me touching rim, peep this one.
I was clear as day.
I might grab soon.
Now this is fun.
I was having fun. I missed every single attempt after I got real cocky. But it's all good. The mission has been completed, and I was feeling great. My knee was too.
Another day, another dollar.
Now I'm back, thinking I'm the shit, and that I'll be dunking by next Wednesday. I go for my warm-ups, as I always do. I go for my attempts, and I didn't get shit. I started to do this a lot more, where I would find a path to the basket, go for it, and then just reset. Since it was only the day before that I actually touched rim, and I was in such a good flow state, I tried very hard to put myself back in that flow state, and I tried really hard to just not think and touch rim, but I was thinking about not thinking, which only made me trip myself up more. I kinda got it once, but that barely counted. By my standards,
Fail.
it's all good. My left calf was absolutely on fire from fatigue, and so was my right hip afterwards.
Let's hope I don't get kicked off. It's nice and quiet.
It was March 25th, and now I'm back in the gym. I decided to go to Palestra this time. I figured the weekend off would help me out in terms of recovery, but not quite. My calf and my hip were still quite fatigued and on fire. I was looking at this rim, and I swear to God, it looked well higher than 10 feet. I don't know what the hell it was, but I did my usual warm-ups and started getting to it. You can see that on some of these attempts, I'm walking by and I'm looking at this other hoop, this other rim that's in the background. And I'm thinking, why the hell does that one look so much shorter? So I decided to go for it, and I get it with ease. So I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, maybe it's just because I wasn't trying. Maybe I'm going back to that method. You can see here that I kind of got it once. I mean, I got it, but I didn't get it more than once. Today, for some reason, I really wanted it. Here's a sped up 15-minute video just straight of me attempting to get this thing. I was getting pissed off, I was getting tired, and I knew I wasn't going to, but I just kept on trying. I was like a freaking dog. I just kept on trying. Eventually, I figured it was enough and it was time to go back to my dribbling and shooting. Now it's March 26th, the day after, and I'm back in the gym once more. Yes, indeed, calf and hip still are on fire, and I just knew I was not getting shit today. There was no way I was gonna get up. Running definitely hurt. My knee was fine. My knee felt totally fine. It was just my hip and my calf that were, mainly my left calf, that was killing me because I was doing all those one-legged jumps, of course. You know, I'm even trying 2-footers, I'm trying 1-footers, whatever. I'm freaking trying anything at this point. But I knew I wasn't gonna get it. And that's all she wrote, folks. I figured if I were ever going to be able to touch rim again at all, I would need at least 2 weeks off for my calf to rest. It was already the end of March, the due date for the assignment was coming up, and although it would have been nice to be able to grab rim, there was no point in me trying to jump my calf off for the purpose of this assignment. My calf felt fine enough to continue playing, but not to continue jumping. This was an incredible journey. I learned a lot about not only myself, but as the assignment intended, I learned about how I go about learning a new skill. For me, the learning mainly came from trial and error with the research I did. I learned the technique, the penultimate step, the 2-legged approach, and then eventually I learned that my body was better fit for a 1-legged takeoff. From there, I more or less taught myself the technique just by doing it over and over again and getting all those reps in. One of the hardest parts was learning how to not think about all the learning that I needed to do to apply to be successful. I learned that there comes a point where there's only so much preparation you can do, and eventually all those reps turn into muscle memory, and you just have to let your body take over. I feel what was very important, not only for touching rim, but what's also going to be vital in my sports playing from here on out is just focusing on the goal and entering a flow mental state. I feel that, especially when I stopped thinking about the right technique and getting off the ground in the best possible way, like I was saying earlier, when I just focused on touching rim, when I just focused on completing the goal, I feel like that mentality and focus is what got me those couple extra inches to actually do it. And then I learned that even after I do succeed, I can still get in my own head. This is similar to the pressure assignment we just did, in that I talked about thinking too much is the thing that can lead you to failure. Bringing economics into all of this, I traded off effort and mental and physical energy to be able to touch rim. I'm happy, and I would say satisfied with the fact that I'm able to touch rim. It's a cool accomplishment. Not only that, this assignment has led me to understand my physical capabilities, even after the 2 knee surgeries, and that I feel confident in seeing how far I can go with touching rim and maybe even dunking a tennis ball. And hell, maybe even dunking a basketball. Better yet, I became a better overall basketball player, as working on one goal to touch rim led me to working on adjacent goals as well. But most of all, it's gratifying to conquer the fear of going back to the surgery table. I spent many hours of my life dreading and wondering whether I was ever going to be able to enjoy playing sports again. But this assignment has helped me push through those mental barriers, and now I'm reaping the benefits. I play basketball almost every day with no mental restrictions. I'm back to feeling like myself, and there are few things I could possibly be more grateful for. I'm glad I was able to get so many positive externalities just for pushing myself to touch rim. Just one little thing though. I was playing some 2v2 this past Wednesday, April 3rd. Didn't do anything too crazy at all. I just did a hop step going towards my right, landed, and then passed the ball to my teammate who got a bucket. Coincidentally, that teammate is in this class. Shout out to Charlie. As I did this hop step and landed, I felt a nice old crack and pop in my right knee. Let's just say it's similar to ones I've felt in the past. I did not hit the ground screaming, and it wasn't really painful, but it was something. The next play I got a bucket, which was the 11th point. Game was over, and then immediately I took myself out after that. I tried hopping around, jogging, stretching, and praying that my knee would just go back to feeling normal. But my knee hasn't felt this bad in months. And now I'm back to square one. The possibilities of another MRI and surgery number 5 are now back into play. A 5th surgery at 21 years old. I gotta say, the thought of that sucks. The fear of being re-injured only built up after each surgery I've had so far. And finally, I thought this assignment has led me out of the woods. What I worked on for months, mentally, gone. In the snap of a knee. But hey, if I can get over this fear once, you're damn right I can do it again. Thank you for this assignment, and thank you for watching.